So today I'm going to share with you my best advice for running a high ticket coaching ad after getting myself a 5.2x return on investment consistently throughout this year. So since the start of this year, for every pound that I've given to Instagram, they've ended up giving me £5.20 back. Now you're probably wondering how does that even work? Well, it works with the exact high ticket ad framework that I'm going to share with you here today. Now, obviously, a lot of you don't know me. My name's Alexandros, for short you can call me Alexi. And over the last 3 years, I've completely dedicated myself and my life to mastering digital marketing for high ticket coaching. And I can finally confidently say I am on my way there. Now, at the time of recording this, I've generated coaches multi-six figures in revenue, and these are just a few of the guys that I've helped to do that. And today, like I say, I'm going to share all of these learnings with you. Now, I'm going to share with you the 8 fundamental steps. I'm going to make myself small here, so I'm not taking up the whole screen, but share with you the 8 fundamental steps your ad campaigns must have if you want to grow your coaching business, essentially. So if you're ready to grow and you want Instagram to give you better payouts than the casino, then stick to the end as well, because I'm going to be giving away to you a free advertising script to reward those that watch this the whole way through. So stick around, because this script, like I say, has been responsible for those 6 figures in revenue that I mentioned a minute ago. So let's get straight into this, right? Let's waste no time. So first of all, we need to understand your customer level of awareness that you are targeting. Now, before I even show you what type of ads to run, the strategies behind it, what types of lead magnets, all of these little technical details that you think are the things that make the success, this is one of the biggest elements that's going to make your campaigns either thrive or fail. It's understanding the awareness of your customer. So let's look at the different levels of awareness, right? And I'm going to break this down in more depth in a moment. But every type of business, no matter who your target customer is, they all sit on this spectrum to some way, shape or form, right? All of them have a level of awareness. So they're either completely unaware, they're problem aware, solution aware, product aware, or they're most aware. These are the levels of awareness. And it's really key you understand this, first of all, to make sure that your ad campaigns start seeing the success that you want them to, right? So let's firstly look at completely unaware. So completely unaware prospects, they don't even realize they have a problem, right? And the way that you would reach these types of people is you focus on storytelling, emotions, relatable pain points to make them recognize that they have an issue. So for an example, why most coaches struggle to get clients and don't even realize it. So that is how I would target a coach who doesn't realize they have an issue. Now I'm going to break down which ones you should target in a moment, so stick with me here. I'm just going to break these all down first for you. So next of all, you have problem aware clients. So they are people that know they have a problem but don't know the solution. The way you reach these people is you agitate their pain point, introduce the possibility of a solution. And another example of how I could say that in my marketing, struggling to get coaching clients, here's why it's easier than you think. Solution aware. These are people who know the solution exists but they aren't sure which is best. The way you reach them is you show them why your approach is better or simpler than alternatives. And the example of how I could do this, which you've probably seen across my marketing and across my pages if you've ever seen me before, is you don't need funnels to get coaching clients, do this instead, right? Now we come up to product aware. Now these are your customers who know about you, they know about your offer, but they just aren't convinced yet on what you do. Now, the way you reach them is you use proof, testimonials, and specific benefits to differentiate yourself. Now, again, my unique mechanism and the unique way that I get coaches clients is through an approach called Beakers, which I'm actually going to break down a little bit for you today. But for example, how Beakers, or the Coaching Evolution, which is the name of the movement that I'm running for coaches, helped 100 plus coaches book their first clients. That's an example. And then most aware clients are people who know you, trust you, and they just need a final little nudge, right? And you reach them by urgency, bonuses, strong call to actions, and you can see an example of that there, right? So these are the different levels of awareness that your customers could potentially be at. So what's really important for you to understand as a coach is to categorize each person in this and understand who they are within that category, right? So you need to break it down. And so the purpose of it is that you know which language to avoid and which language to use. And the reason that this is important is because it determines the quality of lead that you attract. It determines how difficult it will be for you to sell to someone, and it determines how successful your advertising is going to be, very simply. Now, before I show you examples, as a general rule of thumb, the audiences that you want to go for when you're running ads and going for that cold traffic are solution aware and problem aware. Right, and this 5.2x return that I've got myself this year has come from targeting those specific groups. So this year, I've spent just under 4K on ads, which isn't a crazy amount of money. For some of you it will be, for some of you it won't be. But I've spent just under 4K and I've made about 18K back, something around those numbers, And the way I've done that is by targeting problem aware and solution aware people. Now, let's get to the examples and show you why not to target completely unaware. So, a parenting coach. I've been working with a parenting coach since August of 2024. And when we launched her initial campaigns, the issues that we were facing is that she wanted to target a completely unaware portion of the market. Now, the first thing I want to say is you can do it. Of course you can. But it makes your life so much more difficult, because what this parenting coach essentially was trying to do was speak to parents who didn't realize that they were the problem in the situation. So we had no problem bringing her in the leads, but when it came to conversions in terms of booking in calls and getting clients to sign up, it was a much, much harder job, because the parents that were coming through didn't realize that they were the problem, and a lot of them weren't ready to make the change. So this is also the other thing you need to consider, right? A lot of coaches that I work with want clients and want people who are ready to make that change and ready to put that work in for themselves to get to where they want to, essentially. If you target an unaware portion of the market, there's a very, very good chance that they're not going to want to change, or they're not ready to change. So you're going to make your life harder. So try to avoid completely unaware people if you can. And again, I can give you another example of this of one of my own ad campaigns. So one of my earlier ad campaigns, which I saw success for, but I found the conversions weren't as good as these other new ads that I'm running, well, I was offering out social media audits to some coaches. Now, although it did bring me some good quality leads, a large portion of the market that was coming in from that were leads that were unaware that what their problems were, because they were early on in their journey, essentially. Now, again, I've got clients through that. I've been working with some amazing coaches from that advert, which I'm very grateful for. But the majority of the people coming through there were unaware what their issues were. They didn't know they had a problem. They didn't know there were solutions to their problem. So it was very hard for me to display my value to people, and I had much harder work in terms of convincing people that what I could do could help them, if that makes sense. So it's really, really important that you understand, come back to this exercise and pause it if you need to, break down each level of awareness, write down what the customer would understand when they're in that level of awareness, and make sure you try to avoid completely unaware. And when you're doing ads, target this portion of the market, essentially. So that's the first thing. Now, the next thing to look at for you is the understanding the right type of lead magnet. Now, there are hundreds of options for types of lead magnets. Like it says here, you could do ebooks, you could do PDFs, you could do webinars, you could do a video to a VSL, you could do, honestly, there's just so many different ways you can do it. Now, when picking a lead magnet for your coaching, it needs to be something that is simple, that is easy to set up, and is ensuring that you're attracting serious leads, not just nosy time wasters. And that's the most key important part. Now, after years of pretty much trying every strategy under the sun, the best type of lead magnet is actually your Instagram page. So allow me to explain. Now, a lot of ad trainings will tell you to offer a PDF, offer an ebook in exchange for a name, email, phone number, follow up with the leads that way. Now, the issue that I found with that, and I'm going to break this down in a bit more detail in a moment, is it applies funnel principles. So that means a lot of your leads disappear, a lot of the leads are just nosy, and a lot of the leads aren't serious. Now, what I found when it comes to actually running ads for a coaches specifically, is that running ads that drive people to your Instagram and build up your Instagram audience is actually the most efficient way to get leads and get clients. Now, the purpose for that is because, like I say, when you send somebody an ebook, they claim the thing, half of them don't even read it, and half of them just disappear and you never hear from them again. But if you can run ads that get people to visit your Instagram profile and follow you on Instagram and they become your leads, you've now built an audience and a mechanism which is easy to nurture, not just for now, but for years down the line. So again, I'm going to break this down in a moment in more detail, because this explains beaker principles rather than funnel principles. But this is really, really important for you to understand, is that as a coach, honestly, for coaches and for myself, I've run just about every single type of advert that you can run. Webinars, ebooks, PDFs, masterclasses, whatever way there is to run ads, I've done it, right? The reason that this is the best for coaches is because it's the simplest and it's the easiest to nurture the leads. Again, coaches aren't salesmen, coaches aren't marketers. You don't want to be, yet you're using strategies that make you do it. The beauty of this also is that it's simple. So the best type of ad, the best type of lead magnet is where the lead magnet is your Instagram. Obviously, you need to then optimize your Instagram in the right way, which is very simple to do. If you've got any questions about that, feel free to reach out. But this is the best type of lead magnet, your Instagram page. Because what you can also do is each little post and video you do is a lead magnet in itself, right? It's an opportunity for you to pre-sell people on your expertise, on your experience, on how you can help them. And this is how you can start to build trust at a much deeper level. Rather than just sending people a PDF with a couple words on it, you can send them to your Instagram, show them your amazing results, show them your story so they can build that connection with you, and fill up your page with videos that provide that authority content that builds that trust, that builds that reputation, and that builds that connection with their audience. So these are by far the best lead magnets that you can use. So there's a very specific way to do this, but if you can set up your Instagram to make it a lead magnet, you're going to be flying essentially. Now, the next step in this is competitor analysis. And it's all about understanding what are your competition doing. Now, the worst trap that you can get into is the habituation trap, especially in ultra competitive markets. So let me just quickly explain what that means. So think of it this way. I want you to think of your bedroom. There are items in your bedroom that don't move. For example, you might have a bedside table or a lamp, or you might have a set of drawers, and they're in the same place of your room every single day, 365 days of the year. Chances are 99% of the time that you walk through your bedroom, your brain doesn't consciously pick up or recognize these things because it's become habitual. It's habituated itself to the fact that there is a lamp in that corner, there is a set of drawers here. So your brain doesn't need to take time to process it and think about where things are, right? You can walk through your room blindfolded and avoid the set of drawers, avoid the bed, because it's habitual that they're there. And this is exactly what happens when you're running adverts if you don't do competitor analysis. Now, if you're in a super competitive market like I am, and you just run ads that are similar to everyone else, your target clients have become habituated to those types of ads, to the words that they're saying, to the format of the ad, to what they want you to do. And so because of that, people just scroll past it and you're wasting ad spend and losing leads. So let's show you how to actually do this. Now, the first way to approach this is if you're in a super competitive market, do the complete opposite. So take me, for example. I banned keywords, changed format, and sounded the complete opposite of everyone. So for example, you've probably seen all of these guys that claim to help coaches that run ads that say visit Instagram profile. How many ads have you seen of that? And I'm sure by now, the amount of ads that you've seen of that, you just scroll past it and you ignore it because it's become habitual. You've probably heard keywords like scout, 10K a month, 20K a month, consistency, predictability. You've probably heard these words on repeat. You've heard them so much to the point now where your brain will just simply ignore them. Now, to give you an example of how this affected me, because I'm obviously in a super competitive market, in December of 2024, I spent about £800 on adverts, and I made zero back. I got no clients whatsoever. And the reason was because I didn't really think outside the box. To be honest, I got a bit lazy and just run ads that I saw other people doing. And I used the same format, I used the same keywords, and I just fell into the same category. And the majority of the comments on the ad were, I've seen this ad 5 times today already. Now, although I tried to be different in terms of what I was saying, the format was exactly the same, the general message was the same, and it just fell into the same category as everyone else. And because of that habituation that I mentioned earlier, people just swipe past me. So that's really important. If you're in a super competitive market, that's what you need to take into account. Now, the other way to approach this, though, is that if you are in a less competitive market, you can actually replicate market leaders. Now, I know there is a contradiction to what I just said, but you can do this if you're in a much less competitive market, right? So what you can do is you can obviously find their ads, of course, make it your own. Don't just completely steal it, but you can replicate the language, the format, the style, what they're offering, and you can take that and remake it your own. Now, this is only possible in a market where it's not booming with competition. There aren't a million ads coming through all the time. And for example, this is an exercise I did with an executive coach. So he was doing a coaching program where he was helping people get into their first leadership roles. It was a really cool niche. And what we found is that there was one guy who was taking a lot of the market definition, but there was no one else really doing it. So when we were setting up our ads, I said to him, because this market isn't super competitive and there's only really one person doing this who's quite established, we can replicate what he's doing and just put our own twist on it. So we did. We used the same style of advert, the same sort of wording, and it worked, right? This particular executive coach, his testimonial, his video interview we did is on my YouTube channel. He got he was signing a lot of clients, booking a lot of calls, and finally got that peace of mind within his business in terms of how to find clients online. So there are, like I say, there's two cases you can do this, but it does simply depend on the type of market you're in. So if you're in a super competitive market, you have to do the complete opposite, look completely different to avoid habituation. But if you're in a market which isn't really competitive and you're not seeing many people doing what you're doing, if you have a market leader in that space, feel free to replicate them. Now, the way you can do that is two ways. So first of all, you can research in the Meta Ads library, and second of all, you can get yourself into the algorithm. So let's look at the Meta Ads library first. If you literally type in on Google Meta Ads library, you'll see this link pop up. Simply click it and you'll be met with this page here. Give it a moment to load. And this page allows you to search everyone who's running adverts on Meta. So first of all, select what country they're in, then select all ads here in the options, and then just type in their names, right? So let's just type in myself so you can see my ads. But you can come in here, it shows you who they are, what their name is, how many followers they've got, and it shows you the ads that they've run in, right? So for example, here, you can see my ads have been running since the 27th of Feb. You can see they're running on Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and Messenger. You can actually see my copy, what I've written. You can see the video that I've written, and you can see the different creatives that I've got. So I've got 3 videos and 2 pictures. Now, when you're looking at a winning ad, the first thing to know as to whether it's a winner or not is how long it's been running. So this is the 27th of Feb. This has started. We're now on the 31st of March. This has been running over a month. So the longer the ads are running, the better chance they are that they are good quality and that they're getting people results. So if you're looking to replicate, that's the first thing that you can do, is you can look at what other people are doing, like if you're in a less competitive market, and steal the angle. Now, if you're in a market where it's super competitive and you want to be different, you can, for example, so if I type in, for example, mindset coach, let's see what comes up. Now you can see mindset challenges. You can see all of these mindset ads that are coming up, right? So again, you can filter it to different dates and older if you want to drop it back. But if you're looking now to be different and stand out, the first way you can do it, like I say, is come on here and look at what everyone's doing when it comes to mindset coaching and just try and be completely different. Okay, that's the first thing you can do when it comes to research. Now, the second thing you can do, like I said, is get yourself into the algorithm. So what does that mean? So that means on your phone, when you're on Instagram, interact with ads that are from mindset coaches. Go on mindset coaches' accounts. Okay, obviously, you've got to be a mindset coach to do this, but find your competitors on Instagram. So just type in mindset coaches for athletes, if that's what you are. Search them on Instagram. Interact on Instagram with what they do. So like their posts, get in there, interact with their content. And what should start happening is that if they're running ads, you should start to get served ads from them or from people similar to them. And then what you want to do is keep interacting with the ads and see what continuously comes up. And eventually, like for me now, I'm very deep into the algorithm to the point where I constantly get served ads from other people who are targeting coaches. And now I can look, okay, this guy's doing this guy's doing this is similar, I'm going to avoid that, things like that. So that's how you start to do research, really. Now, the next pillar is selling the click. So it's really key for you to understand when you're running ads is that the purpose of the ad is simply to sell the click. So you're not trying to sell the service in the advert. You are literally just selling the click. So allow me to explain, right? So I've created these diagrams here to show you. These are the flows of the process somebody will get to before they become a client. So you'll run your ad, they'll opt in whatever way that is. So whether that's getting them to engage on your Instagram or whether that's the email, whatever you decide to do. Then they opt in, somewhere in here, you follow up with them or you get them to jump on a call. This is the Zoom call, so to speak, and then you sign them on as a client. Now, again, we could add little intricate details in between this, but this is just an overarching look at it. Now, what this means for you is, the issue I see with a lot of people when they're running their ads is they run an ad for their coaching business and they try and tell you how good their coaching is, how much of a transformation they can get you, how well that they can get you the result. Now, here's the issue, right? Let me just get my pen out here. So the customers at this point in their journey, and you're trying to sell them on this step, but you've missed out. They have to opt in and they have to jump on a Zoom call before they get to this point. So essentially what you're doing is you're wasting ad spend because you're trying to take someone from here to here, when really you need to just go from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. So with adverts, very simply, you are only ever selling the next step. So your ad just needs to be focused on making it as convincing as possible to get somebody to click on the ad so they can opt in. The opt-in's job is to make it as compelling and convincing as possible to get somebody to book a call. The call needs to be as compelling as convincing as possible to get somebody to sign up. So it's really important that in your adverts, like I say, you sell the next step, that's it. So if you're doing adverts where you need people to opt in, your advert just needs to be as compelling as possible to get people to click on the link, or to get people to click on the link to take you to their Instagram page. It's literally as simple as that, right? So sell the next step. So what I want you to do is when you're next writing an advert, you're next about to launch an ad, think to yourself, am I selling the next step in my process, or am I jumping over here? And a lot of coaches jump from here to here and they wonder why their ads don't work. Nobody is going to buy your service from your ad because they still need to opt in and they still need to book a call and then they still need to talk to you and then sign up. So make sure that you're doing that. Now, the next step, the fifth pillar, is the structure of an ad. Now, this is really simple, but the way that you structure an ad, no matter what type of ad you're running, is you hook them in, right? So you say something that's going to hook your audience's attention. You list some pain points so people understand that the ad is for them. You list their goals or some things that you're going to help them achieve, and you give them a call to action. It's pretty much as simple as that. Now, again, there are a million different ways you can run ads, and there are a million different ways you can write copy. But as long as your ad hits these sort of check marks, you've got on your hands a very good chance of seeing success with your advert. It's pretty much as simple as that. Hook them in, say something that's going to stop them and grab their attention. List their pain points so they understand that it's for them and so they resonate. This is also important going back to levels of awareness, that you say pain points that are for people who are problem aware or solution aware. List the outcomes and the goals that you're going to help them to achieve. This builds the excitement, gets them excited and wanting to take the next step and to sell the click, if like we said earlier. And lastly, call to action. Let people know what they need to do next. If people don't know what they need to do next, if it's not black and white clear, they're just going to bounce. And like it says here, it's really important that when you're doing your hook, the target avatar is called out in the first 3 seconds. Now, in today's digital age, the amount of content there is online, it's really important that you make it super clear straight away who the advert is for, because otherwise people are going to swipe past. If they don't know if it's for them straight away, they'll go to the next piece of content. So hook them in straight away. And again, when you're writing and speaking in your ads, you need to make sure that every single word is relevant and linked to your target avatar. So nothing should be in your advert just for the sake of it. It needs to be relevant and specific. Okay. Now, the next pillar, a key indicator of ad success, very simply, is an undeniably clear outcome on what it is and how it will benefit them. Now, when you're writing adverts, the key thing for you to understand is that it has to be simple. Like there's no other way around it. It has to be simple. It has to be black and white clear. They have to clearly understand what the advert is, what you're offering, and they need to clearly understand how it will benefit them. Now, the issue is that 90% of ads that coaches run, when we look at the ad, it's not selling the click. It's not undeniably clear what people will get from clicking, and it's not undeniably clear what the benefit is of clicking. Again, so as you can see here, 2 examples. First example, in my advert, I'm trying to make it as clear and as compelling as I can to get people to press learn more. It's as simple as that. So first of all, I show them exactly what it is. Behind the scenes training, coaches is an easier way than funnels, right? So they know that when they press this link, when they press this ad, they're going to get a training on how to get clients, and it's an easy way of funnels. You know what it is and you know how it will benefit them, right? You can read between the lines here. And again, the copy and the rest of the video shows how it will benefit them. But even from this title, you know it's free, you know it's a behind the scenes training, and it's going to show you an easy way of getting coaching clients which doesn't require funnels. Simple as that. It's black and white clear. You can't get it wrong. And this is why a lot of people's ads don't do well, because they don't do this step. Again, for this one, this is the ad where I showed you earlier where you get people to visit your profile and to follow you. Again, visit Instagram profile. They know exactly what they need to do, and the video will be speaking exactly just on getting them to click. So if you're X person experiencing Y problem, give me a follow and I'll show you how to achieve what you want, essentially. So this is a key indicator of ad success, an undeniably clear outcome of what it is and how it will benefit them. So watch back your ads, send them to other people for review, and ask them, do you know exactly what you'll get from this advert? Do you know exactly what you're going to receive? And if you do, how is it going to benefit you? And if people can't answer that question when you show them, you haven't got a good ad in your hands. As simple as that. Now let's look at the 7th pillar. And like I said, I was going to mention this earlier, stop using funnels and use a beaker. So this is a funnel, right? This is how funnels are designed. People come in, you drive traffic in through the top and they slip out the bottom. Funnels are designed to lose leads, which means you are throwing money away, very simply. It requires heavy follow-up, which takes you away from coaching. It is complex to get running and to maintain, which again goes against the simplicity of the coaching business model. So therefore, what we need to do is we need to change our mindset to lead generation. And again, this is me coming from spending tens of thousands of pounds of my own money and helping other people spend tens of thousands of pounds of their own money on ads and seeing what works best and what doesn't, right? So funnels are just so outdated for the coaching business model. Again, I'm not saying funnels don't work, because they do work. They're just extremely difficult to get working, which doesn't align with the way that coaches need to operate. So we need to stop thinking in a way of saying, how do I funnel these people? In other words, lose 80% of the money that I spend. But instead we need to be thinking, how can I keep people in my world now and years down the line? And I've realized I've just missed a word there. And that is where a beaker comes in. So this is a beaker. This is how it looks. And you can see the first key difference compared to a funnel is that, yes, there's a point of entry. There always has to be a point of entry, no matter if it's a funnel or a beaker. But the key here is there's no throughput, there's no out, there's no exit. It's all about containing people in this world, in this ecosystem. Now, the thing is, right, is that 80 to 90% of your leads aren't going to be ready to buy here and now. So what that means is that if you don't create an ecosystem like a beaker where leads can't escape or aren't being nurtured constantly, you're leaving money on the table, right? So the thing is for you to understand is that when I run ads, I'll probably convert to clients less than 10% of the leads that I get through the door. So what does that mean for all the rest of my leads? Does that mean I just need to dump them and get rid of them? Because I've spent money to get their information and to get them into my beaker. And the answer is no. Obviously, you don't want to get rid of them. But this is what a funnel promotes. And this is what personally doesn't make sense for me. Why are we running ads which are designed to lose us money and to waste the leads that we've generated? Now, people may go, oh, well, yeah, but not every lead will be good. Not every lead is you're going to want to keep in there. And that's fine. But at least we have the choice to remove them from our beaker instead of just them disappearing without us getting a chance to nurture them. And like I say, 10 to 20% of your market is going to be ready to buy here and now. The other 80 to 90% need nurturing. They need building that trust up with. And with a funnel, you can't do that because it's designed to lose them, right? So remember those ads where your Instagram becomes the lead magnet? Well, these are the adverts that encompass the beaker approach. Because the reason they do that is because you get people to follow and you nurture them with your content. And because they're in your Instagram and your audience, you can speak with them, you can connect with them, you can post content that nurtures them, you can build trust with them. And they don't leave your beaker unless you physically remove them as a follower, right? So it's such a better way of generating leads, nurturing leads, and making sure that you're making the most of your ad spend essentially. So if you want clients from ads, you need simplicity, and pretty much beakers are the way that you're going to get that. Now, the last thing, which is probably the most important point about all of this, no matter what type of ad you run, is you have to religiously track. So if you do not track and you do not know your numbers, you should not run ads. So you need to understand every metric: cost per lead, opt-in rate, cost per book talk call, cost per shown call, close percentage, cost per acquisition. You have to know these numbers. I'm going to explain why to you in a moment. So if you're wondering what this actually means, for example, so if you're saying to yourself, how do I figure out a cost per booked call? Very simply, it's you just figure out how much you've spent on adverts and how many calls you've booked from that advert, and you divide it. That's essentially it. But you need to understand the cost of each step of the process. Now, let me show you an example of my tracking, okay? And this is my tracking for February. So this isn't even a full month of tracking. So in February, from the February 11th to the February 28th, I ran ads and I spent £50 a day. Now, the first day I started it late in the evening, so we didn't spend the full £50, but I spent £860 at the end of Feb. Now, as you can see, I'm tracking each metric. So I'm tracking my cost per mil, which is how much it cost me to get 1,000 views. I'm tracking how many people clicked on, my click-through rate, my cost per click, how many leads I got, what percent of the leads opted in for my thing, how much my leads cost me, how many calls I booked, the call booking rate, the cost of the call, which was £71 for me, how many calls I actually took. So my show rate was 56%. How much did those calls take and cost me? £122. How many units did I sell? What was my close rate? 30%. What percent of leads converted? 2%. how much revenue did I make, how much cash did I make, etc., etc. So I'm tracking every metric. Now, the reason this is so important is because when you're ready to grow your business and take things up to the next level, you need to know your metrics. So let's take this for example. Now, obviously, this isn't a full month's data, but at the moment, we can see that it's costing me £430 to acquire a customer. So let me actually just do this on the whiteboard here. So it's costing me £500 to acquire a customer, and in that sort of 2 to 3 week period, I made 8k in revenue from those adverts. Okay, so here's what you need to do essentially is that when you understand your numbers, you can backwards engineer how much money you want to make. Now, this is how you take things to the next level, how you can easily grow, and it's all done with simple maths. So let's just use random numbers just to give you an example. So let's say your cost per acquisition is £500, right? CPA, cost per acquisition. And let's say what you're selling costs 3k, right? Your program's 3k. Now, once you've run your numbers and you've got your data, okay, let's say that you want to make, I don't know, let's say you want to make 30k in the next month, right? So essentially you do 30k divided by 3k. So you do how much you want to make divided by how much your program costs, and that equals 10. So if you want to make 30k in the next month, you need to sell 10 programs. Now, in other words, if you hadn't tracked your numbers, you wouldn't understand how much you need to spend. But because you know it costs you £500 to acquire a customer, and because you know if you want to make 30k, you need 10 customers, very simply, you do 10, which is how many customers you need, by how much a customer costs you from adverts, which is 500. And you know you need to spend 5k on ads. But because you've tracked your numbers, you understand that if you spend 5k on ads, you will make 30k in return. And this is why it's so important to track your data. So as I've continued running my adverts, my cost per acquisition has gone up a little bit, but again, it doesn't really matter because what I'm selling is a high ticket service. So that I still get like at least a 4-5x return off of what I'm doing. But this is how you do it. And now this is how you can easily start to grow. Now, this is obviously more advanced when you're a bit more established and you've got a bit more sort of success with your business and you understand what to do. But because I deeply understand my numbers now, I can backwards engineer my income and how much money I want to make. So this is a really, really important concept for you to understand. So if you want, take a screenshot of this tracker of the different metrics that I'm tracking here, and just keep it for yourself and create one of yourself so you're tracking each metric correctly, okay? And again, that's going to allow you to very easily grow and take your business to the levels that you want, essentially. So I really do hope that you found this useful. And if you want the free ad script that I mentioned at the start, follow me on Instagram and DM me the word 5.2. My Instagram username is here. I'll also leave it in the description of the video. So check that out and I'll be more than happy to send that over to you to help you out. Now, if you don't want to worry about ads and if you want me to deal with it for you, use the link in the description and it will also be the link in the first pinned comment, and you can come and speak with me. Just take you to a page which will give you the option to book in a chat with me, and I can show you exactly how to grow your business with adverts and take things to the next level, essentially. Now, if you're not quite ready to chat, if you don't want the free ad script, and if you found this useful, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I will be posting content like this every single Tuesday to help you to grow your coaching business using the digital marketing strategies that I've learned over the last few years of generating coaches multi-six figures in revenue. So yeah, I really do hope that you found this useful. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback on how you found this video. Like I said, if you want any help at all, I'm there to reach out, and there's a few different ways you can reach out to me here. Cheers.